All right, so I wanted to finish up this game so that we can move on to our next game. We've done a lot. We've got coin pickups. We've got all of the basics essentially down. We know how to hook up animations. We're in a really great spot for this game. And again, if you continue to polish it, all that good stuff, you'll have a really nice portfolio piece. But I want to kind of wrap up the entire game in this video, so it's going to be a little bit of a longer one. All right, so let me maximize this. Let's go ahead and create the last bit, which is a HUD. We don't have a start menu. That's something you should do on your own for your homework assignment. You should definitely do a lot of polish. But I'm going to right click in here, go to UI, and then Canvas. If you're not familiar with this for whatever reason, like you're taking this class out of order, the canvas is where essentially we create the user interface, whether in-game or otherwise. Now for the canvas here, what happens is I'm going to go ahead and just do UI and then Text Mesh Pro object here. You can see it says new text. Now, as I scale this up and down, you'll notice that that text does not scale. It stays large with the actual screen size. So over here on the side, what I'm going to do is with my canvas selected is you'll see constant pixel size here. I want it to scale with screen size. So now let me dock this animation here so we can see this. Now, regardless of how big or small I make this scene, you can see that the text scales with our screen size here. And honestly, if I select my text and I hit F to focus, the reason they place the canvas outside of here instead of in the scene is it gives you a separate area to work where you're not being distracted. All right, so I'm going to click in here. I'm going to hold Alt and I'm going to snap that to the corner. Or you could just press uh, uh, T, I think, or I think that's how you bring up the rectangle tool. Or you hit W and you could just kind of move it to the corner. This one is going to be lives. And then you could put whatever arbitrary number. We're going to feed it in there anyway. And then you could adjust the font size however you like. I tend to like to make it big. Select lives, hit Control D, click in here, hold Alt, and snap that to the other side, and just make this score. So now we have a live TextMesh Pro object and a score TextMesh Pro object. Now we should create a separate manager just called the user interface manager. But again, at the end, we just want to build the game and then we want to refactor later or clean it up. And if there's time in this class, I'll go back and do that. If it's during a summer break or winter break and you want to meet up and just say, how would you refactor this? I'd be happy to meet with you. And actually, I probably would make the video then. I'm just trying to get all this stuff in before class. So I'm going to hit Control D on this and duplicate this twice. And what I'm looking for is a TextMesh Pro GUI. This one, TextMesh Pro UGUI object here. And I'm going to name this one Lives Text. And I'm just going to duplicate this. And then let's delete this. And then I'm going to copy this, paste it here. And I'm going a little bit quicker because I don't want the video to go too slow. So we have lives text here. So we probably want to put score text here. And I'm going to save that. And I'll go back to my game manager, which we really should turn into a prefab, which we will eventually. And I'm just going to select lives text, put it here. And then my score text, drop that in here. Don't forget that step. I know I'm going quickly. All right, so for cleanliness, we'll go ahead and just break this into a start method after our awake. So I'm just going to start typing start, let it write that out for me. And what I want to do is I just want to take my lives text here, which we have already being fed in, right? We have player lives here, and it's pretty easy just to feed that in. All you have to do is say lives text.text and equals player lives, which is this one right here. And that's actually an integer value, so we have to convert it into letters, right? So we do dot toString, and I'm going to put a semicolon here. Now, what I'm going to do is change this to like 10 lives, just so you can see that it updates this 3, because right now we have a 3 in there. So I'm going to just change this to 10, and I'm going to go ahead and press play here, and you should see now it updates to 10. So it's pretty easy to kind of change that around. See how awesome that is? And also, like if we die, oh, drop down to 3. It should have went to 9. It should have updated. So we're going to have to work on that because this text is not getting updated. It's just subtracting. So we'll have to work on that too. See where it says player lives minus minus? And this is pretty easy to do. We just grab this string and anywhere where we're updating lives, again, throughout our game. So for example, we have take life here. We could just prop that in here. And what it's going to do is it's going to take into this value and now feed it into our HUD. So let's try that. And actually, we need it somewhere else too. let's see, where else are we subtracting? We have player lives here. Let's see, what we have to do is let's make our canvas part of our game manager. And the reason for that is because if you look at our game manager here, our game manager persists, right? Because we created that singleton pattern. And let's see, and we essentially, so it persists across multiple levels, right? And let's go into awake here so we could take a look at this. You can see here we have a game manager here, and we're finding objects of that type. And so this is essentially allowing us to, in a way, store the number of managers, check if they exist, and then right here, this don't destroy unload. If you don't remember, it won't destroy this game object, and it'll persist against multiple levels. So now when I press play, just by making this a child of our game manager, it should knock it down to 9. There we go, 8, and so on. All right, so let's save that, and then let's actually just, I'm going to wait to turn this into prefab until after we're done setting it up. All right, if you want to pause and see if you could figure out how to create the score text. All right, hopefully you paused and you knocked it out and it was super easy. But I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate this. I'm going to hit Control V here. Score text equals score text.toString, right? That's this one right here. And so this score.text is going to, actually, we need to we need to make an object. That, now that I think about it, we have a coin here. Let's see. We have their coin pickup. Let's see. And then, yeah, I just realized we never set up a score. So let's go ahead and name this score, make that equal to 0. And then we want to feed that score integer into here, not the score text. So we should change from 3 to 0 now. Because we have 0 coins. There we go. All right, and then what we'll do is, let's go ahead and I'm just going to duplicate this start method just out of laziness. I'm going to hit Control Alt Enter to shift that in. And I'm going to call it, instead of start here, I'm going to make this add to score. And what I want to do in here is I want to pass in a value every time we select a coin that this is adds a point. And there's our integer. I'll delete these. And what this is going to do is we're going to call this every time we hit a coin. So let's go ahead and grab our integer, right? It's an integer up here for score. And we're going to say score equals score plus add a point. And if you've done other tutorials with me, which I'm sure you have, you know I'm really just saying score plus equals add a point. And this is the shorthand way of writing this. So if you're like me and you tend to forget, like the stuff, in the long run, this is pretty much the same. You can leave that up there in case you forget or you're working with a new programmer. So let's grab this here and let's paste it down here. And all right, now let's go to our coin pickup script. And we want to say, okay, let's do a new serialized field here. And we're going to say integer points for coins, or for coin. We'll make that equal to 10. So every time you get a coin, you get 10. I mean, honestly, we can make it 1 like Mario Brothers. And if you get 100 coins, you get a life that increases or something. Now we're going to go kind of like what we did before, where we're just going to say, if we collide with a player, we're going to find, I think it's just find object of by type. And the object we're looking for is our game manager plat. And then the method, we need to make sure this is public actually. So we made it private here, so public. And then what we're doing here is dot add to score. And then we want to pass in points for coin. And so now every time we hit it, it's going to add a point for the coin, and then it's going to play a sound and do all that good stuff. Let's test that. So I'm going to zap this tree guy here. Oh, looks like we have a collider on that. So, and then I'm going to select it. You can see we got 10, 20, 30. And the reason why it did that is because it registered um, let's see, where's our coins? It registered that as 10 from the get-go when I initially saved it. So we can just change that back to 1 if you want. And then maybe this coin can get 2. I mean, if you want, whatever that thing is. So I'm going to save that. All right, so on our coin here, let's see, let's look at our box collider. It's set to as trigger. Oh, you know what the issue is actually our water pellet. Let's see, our water pellet here. It's got a rigid body. I wonder if it'll still, let me turn on its trigger, if it'll still blow up this guy, if it's marked as a trigger. It still will. Here's our water pellet. But for some reason, that initial coin, it is a trigger. Why is it registering the hit by my water pellet? Let me hit F to focus on that specific coin. So it is a trigger. And our player. Here's our water pellet. It's trigger. Interesting that it still registers the hit. Like I can't shoot past the coin, which is really weird. Let's see, what's inside of this coin? We have a box collider, which is a trigger. We have an audio source. I'll have to figure that out later because I really want to get through this part. So anyway, we have that working. We've got our coins working. If you notice, for example, that if you select your coin and it picks up more than one coin, well, I think it's not doing it, but we can fix that later. Actually, let's just take care of that now. So what you can do is in your coin pickup, if you find that the object is like registering multiple times, you can just do game object dot set active and then false, and that'll just set it to false before it deletes it, and then it won't register multiple coin pickup values. All right, so let's take care of the last thing to wrap up our game, and that's this. Notice if I select this coin here and I shoot this character here, see if maybe I can get over this guy. Notice if I fall and I die on this thing here, they come back. It doesn't remember anything. It's not persisting, right? So how do we get it so it persists and it remembers which characters were destroyed, right? This is kind of an important thing for games. It adds to the really just the overall fun factor. It's like, wait, I've got to restart and destroy everything again. Like it should feel like you're in this organic environment. The only thing that's restarting is your player. So let's see. I think we can add this to our game manager. We'll add another script in here. You know, we'll create an empty one and then we could always add it later. And then we'll call this scene persist. Let's go ahead and create a script here. And now, when you have these scene persist objects in your game, what you generally do is you put everything you want to persist underneath it. So let's go to new Mani behavior script. Let's name it scene persist. Don't forget to select your scene persist here and drag and drop it here. And like I said, let's reset the position in this. So anything that we want to persist, like that we're going to destroy or do whatever, and if we die and come back, we want it to do it, like our coin or things will end up underneath this. All right, so I'm going to right click on this, create empty. I'm going to name this pickups. And it should be lowercase u. I don't know why I keep making that same spelling mistake. And grab all your coins, put it underneath here. And let's go ahead while we're at it and just make our game manager a prefab as well. And actually, you know what? Let's make scene persist its own game object because we might have certain things that we want to persist on different levels, right? So here's our scene persist, and then you don't want to update it. We're just going to grab this pickup and drop it on here, and that'll persist just for this level. And then when we go into the new level, we could set up a separate scene persist for level 2. And let's go ahead and create another empty game object here, and let's call this enemies. And we have trunk NPC. I think we only have one enemy for now, and that's fine. We'll put it under enemies, and we'll drag that under scene persist. All right, let's open up our scene persist script. And let's just copy over some code from Game Manager. Like, let's see. We could reuse a lot of this because we're going to create another serialized field or another singleton. And that singleton is going to help us to persist this across multiple levels. So I'm going to drop that up top here. All right, so I'm going to hit Control R or F2 and just name, instead of name number of game, oops. Let's hit F2 on that. Number of scene persist. And then we don't want a game manager, we want our scene persist here. And that's just going to check if we have more than one scene persist, which is this in our scene, we want to destroy it. So let's save that. All right, so let's test this. Remember, we have a scene persist game object here, right? So let's save this. And let's go to our scenes. Let's go to level 2 here. I want to save this scene. And I'm going to grab my scene persist here. Now what I'm going to do here is, just so it feels different, I'm going to hit Control D, duplicate this guy down here, duplicate one more. I don't think these guys even, we have to adjust that height for the raycast. Hopefully they walk. Yeah. Let's go ahead and move them both like right on the ground and then press play so that it registers the ground. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to make a empty here. I'm going to call this enemies. Just so you can see the difference in the scene persist. And then I'm going to grab all 3 of these, place them here, and I'm going to drag this enemies under scene persist, and I'm going to save this. Now let's go back to level 01. All right, so let's take a look at what happens with the scene persist manager if I go to the next level, right? So I select this, I delete this, and I'm going to go to finish the level, right? So I'm in the new level. Here's level 2, right? And here's my scene persist, and you can see here's my pickup, and here is my enemies, and there's no enemies in there. What's going on there? So let's go to level 02 here, save that, and enemies. Okay, let's save this. And what happens is we need a method, and what it's going to do is it's going to reset the scene persist to whatever the one in the scene is. So what's happening is when we go into the next scene, it's persisting just this object, but nothing underneath it, if that makes sense. Because we only want this scene to persist like this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So let me go back to level 01, just to kind of make this clear. Okay, notice, remember, when I die, like after my 3 lives are over or whatever, like I'm going to jump over here and I'm going to die. I'm going to select this coin and then I'm going to die. Notice that it's still persisting, like it's still making, do you see how that's going? Like he's still coming back to life. It's not recording any of that data. It's not really scene persisting. So what I want to do is once I finish the game, I want to be able to call a method and it'll start over with the other scene persist, which has just enemies underneath it. Okay, so let me just show you that. This could maybe feels like word salad now. So what I'm going to do is let me delete these, and then I'll borrow this start method. Delete this line of code here and get rid of this. And I'm going to name this reset scene persist. And then all I'm going to do is just destroy this game object. Now this is never called until when I want to call this is really when I restart the level from my game manager. So if you recall, we have this method here, which is restart game, right? And what this happens is this restarts the game when we die. We want to restart the game when we win, right? So we have a level manager script here, and we have our game manager here. So if you remember in our, we have this restart game here. So what we're going to do is the same thing as before. We're going to do find object, not objects, but find object by type. And then what we're looking for is scene persist. And then we're going to look for, and I think we have to make it public. I don't think I did that. Yeah, public reset scene persist. Dot reset scene persist. So before our level resets, right, before our game restarts, we're going to reset the scene persist, which is just destroying that game object. It destroys the scene persist in there. And then it'll start over fresh. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's copy this line of code. And then inside the level manager here, what I'm going to do is, let's see. We have our load next level here. And then right outside of here, I'm going to paste this. And then let's see. Oh, I'm not inside that same class. Let's see. Here's this class level manager. And then let's just put it here. Let's see. I think we also have to check if we ran out of levels. So let's just do this really quick. So I'm going to duplicate this line of code here. And I'm going to name this next scene in index. And what we're going to do is we're just going to get the total number of scenes in the count. So that means like right now we only have 2 scenes, which is 0 and 1. And then what I'm going to check is, let's see. We'll do an if statement outside of this. We'll just say if the next scene index is the same as scene manager dot scene count and build settings. So that means if the next scene that we have in our scene is the same as this, that means if we only have 2 scenes in our scene, this is what it's checking. We're going to set the next scene index back down to equal to 0 again. So that means we restart our game. And then now what we'll do is the scene manager.load scene, we'll just load next scene index, which is 0 here. And then let's move this up here so that we could load the scene persist first. And then I think this looks pretty good. Let's try that. Hopefully I didn't mess up the code too much. All right, so let's see if we're persisting our settings. Actually, we might need one more enemy for me to test this. So I'm going to hit Control D on trunk NPC, hit Control D on this guy, bring him down so he's right on the floor so we know he works. And these kind of bother me that they can't walk through them, but maybe they can. Let's see what happens. No, he's stuck. And oh, I know what's going on. Let's go to our edit project settings here, and then is it physics 2D? We have our coins. Here's our pellet. Oh, did we not create a layer mask for coin? No, we did not. Okay, so I'm going to add a layer, and I'm just going to call this coin. And then all of these coins should be on the coin layer. And then I don't want the coin to interact with anything but my player. So that's probably going to fix that error, that issue. So now when I shoot, yep, I could shoot through it. And then if I die here, boop, you can see it persisted, and it remembered that I had 1 coin and it remembered this guy down here. And then this guy's having a really hard time. We should move him down a little bit. See if that works. There we go. And then let's go to our next level here. And we should... it only loaded the current level. Okay, let me take a look at my logic here. Let's see. Load next level. We load the next level. Wait that number of seconds. Current scene index equals scene manager. Get active scene build index. Integer. Oh, this is my problem. Current scene index. So the next scene here is really our current scene index plus 1. And so that's what this is. So it's going to load the next scene in our index. And what it's going to check is, hey, is this scene plus 1, which means number 1, the same number in the build counts? That means we got to our last one. We're just going to go back to level 1. So let's press play here. And I got that. I got this coin. Boom, we died, but it persisted. So that's kind of an important thing for games, is like you want a lot of scene persistence, right? You want people to feel like, okay, the choices and the things I made in the game matter. So we got a little bit of too much of a delay there before it loads the next level. Let's try this too. Boom, you can see that worked. Hopefully that made sense. I know I rushed through that because I the video is going to be almost 30 minutes, but I wanted to really finish up this game so we could work on our next one. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you. And yeah, keep creating awesome stuff. Can't wait to see what you do.